Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So some interesting news coming out of the welterweight division. Jaron Ennis, who is the IBF champion, has signed a promotional agreement with Matchroom Boxing and Hearn. Of course, Ennis in recent times was going through a legal dispute with his promoter, and he was working alongside the PBC and Showtime for many years. However, that is no longer the case. He is exclusive now to DAZN and Matchroom Boxing. On the surface, this is a good signing, obviously. Jaron Ennis, in my opinion, is a talented fighter. Good to watch, exciting, power, speed, etc. He's certainly a guy who is one of the more interesting propositions at welterweight. So overall, I think this is a good addition for Matchroom Boxing. A good addition to their American stable. Of course, Ennis is a champion with a lot of upside, in my opinion. I've seen people kind of react to this news online, and they're saying, well, signing with Matchroom kind of negates him from getting certain fights at welterweight. Many people are saying that PBC have the crop of the welterweights. And listen, that's always been historically true. But when you look at the welterweight division right now, regardless of promotional affiliations and whatnot, I look at welterweight and I see a weak division. For me, it's only really Jaron Ennis and Terence Crawford right now. Virgil Ortiz went to 154. Errol Spence Jr., coming off a loss, appears to be going to 154. When you look at the welterweight division, who else is there? Keith Thurman is basically retired. You've got Mario Barrios, who is on the PBC. But honestly, who really wants to see that fight? Barrios versus Ennis. You have Stanionis, that would have been a good opponent, but not exactly one that moves the needle, so to speak. When you look at welterweight, it's really only Terence Crawford that would make for a really interesting fight with Ennis. Aside from that, I don't think there's much at welterweight, full stop, regardless of promotional affiliations, quite frankly. Now he's signed with Matchroom. Let's be honest, it's not exactly like he's got a whole host of options at 147 at Matchroom, but there is the Conor Benn fight, and I was speculating in my own mind that the Conor Benn situation in the UK has dragged on for so long now. He still hasn't got a licence in the UK. He still has his UCAD case going on. And, you know, the British Boxing Board of Control are supporting UCAD. So right now it doesn't appear that Conor Benn's getting licensed in the UK anytime soon. That Chris Eubank Jr. fight is dead in the water. Has it got to the point now as to where Hearn is sick of the Conor Benn saga, and maybe he could be willing to cash Conor Benn out to build Jaron Ennis' profile? Would Hearn ship out Conor Benn to America to feed to Jaron Ennis? You know, to build Ennis, to showcase him to a new audience. Because Conor Benn, like it or not, does have, I wouldn't say a fan base, but he's got notoriety around his name due to obvious reasons. Plus he's got recognition due to his surname. He's a well-known fighter. So maybe Eddie would be willing to ship Conor to America to build Jaron Ennis. I don't think Conor Benn is much of a test for Ennis, quite frankly, but it would be his biggest fight in terms of marquee value. I know Conor Benn's not a big name in America, I get it, but compared to what Ennis has done so far, that would be the biggest fight, I'd imagine, in his career, in terms of like just viewership and whatnot, and hype. So yeah, that was one of the fights I was thinking about for Jaron Ennis. It makes somewhat sense. Aside from that at 147, there's not too much on the Matchroom side of things. Alexis Rocha is fighting on DAZN, but again, who really wants to see that fight? There's also Shakram Gyasov, who is on DAZN, but again, who wants to see that fight? For me, the potential fights for Jaron Ennis over at DAZN would be at 154, and as we know, Jaron Ennis is a huge welterweight. I can't see him being at welterweight for long. And at 154, we do have some names on DAZN. Notably, We have Israel Madrimov, who is the WBA super welterweight champion, very good fighter. Ennis versus Madrimov would be a very interesting fight. And of course, Virgil Ortiz is on the zone. Maybe that's the long-term goal or long-term plan when it comes to Jaron Ennis, to potentially make a fight with Virgil Ortiz. That fight's already been talked about for quite some time. These guys essentially came up together through the pro ranks. Both guys have looked very impressive, scored a lot of knockouts. Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz in the future could be a massive fight. Both guys have been inactive in the last couple of years, but it appears that Virgil has a clean bill of health, so it's appearing that he's going to be more active. And now Ennis has sorted his promotional issues. I'm hoping he's more active, so potentially they could build that fight. For me, that's the fight that really stands out above all else. Virgil Ortiz versus Jaron Ennis at 154. Especially if one of these guys gets a title. Who knows, maybe both guys could snag a title. But that's the fight for me. That is the intriguing one. That's what I want to see in the near future. But anyway, interesting signing from Matchroom. I don't really understand the critique of him going to Matchroom, considering the welterweight division is so weak. There's not really any options there anyway, aside from Crawford, and I'm not sure what Crawford's situation is with the PBC. So who knows, maybe that fight is still possible. Of course I would love to see that fight, I mean above all else, I said Virgil Ortiz, but if they could somehow get the Crawford fight going, that's a fight I'd love to see as well. So we'll see how this progresses in the next few months. For me though, the options, if we're talking about the zone options, they solely lie at 154, to be honest with you. But yeah, good signing. We'll see how it pans out. Share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Delboy. Peace.